Hi there, I'm Blake Miller. I'm the staff chaplain for Prisma Health's Cancer Institute. In the work that I do, I meet people with various kinds of health issues. I talk to people with very different backgrounds and experiences, and I see the ways that stress and health issues affect our lives. Life can be difficult in a variety of ways, so from the support team at Prisma, I'm here to offer some tips for dealing with specific difficult life situations. This time we're going to be talking about dealing with difficulty in our spiritual lives. For people with a sense of religious faith or connection to spirituality, the sense that they're not measuring up in their spiritual walk can be a constant source of pain. Either they aren't doing enough to prove their faith, or aren't they getting what they used to out of it, or they just don't feel very spiritual anymore. Wanting to be spiritually whole or effective is a good desire, but it can lead to a sense of not being good enough. So here are my tips for dealing with difficulty in your spiritual life. First off, I would say, remember what used to work and try doing it again. In many cases, people who feel spiritually dry can remember and even explain times and ways that they were more fulfilled. Maybe they were working with their communities in a greater sense, or maybe they were doing spiritual practices that gave them a sense of fulfillment. Whatever practices or experiences they were doing, or you were doing then, try and pick those back up. You might not be able to get back into them with the same intensity that you always were, but just going back down that same road can lead to a greater sense of spiritual health. It might be just a dry spell, but don't neglect what has worked in the past. Second, I would say to seek counsel from a spiritual advisor. This might be somebody in your faith tradition like a priest or an imam, or it just might be somebody you have explained and experienced your spiritual life with before. Those who share your spirituality are very often willing and able to help in these sorts of times, either by offering practical advice or just being there to listen. One-on-one visits or attending a place of worship or reading a good book in your faith can offer a burst of spiritual energy. The next good comment I would offer would be involve yourself with outreach or care for the community. A lot of spiritual practices or religions base themselves quite a bit on caring for others, and a lot of people say that some of their greatest spiritual experiences come from being servants instead of just having one-on-one spiritual lives. Helping others is often the best way to reconnect with your faith. So find people who can need help, or find people who are doing good help for others in your spiritual community and connect with them. Lastly, I'd offer a small piece of advice. I heard this when I was developing my own spiritual life and going to seminary. One of my professors said, "You don't worship the way that you should. You worship the way that you can." This is pretty much the most important advice I've ever heard for this subject. We can't always control our experience of our spirituality, and it's very easy in many spiritual streams to feel like you're not measuring up, or that the bar is simply too high for you to reach. But don't beat yourself up over not being able to do everything you'd like or feeling the way you used to. You might be experiencing this spiritual dryness for a reason, and you might not understand it now, but you might find a better understanding later in life. When you let go of the feeling that your spirituality must look a certain way or have certain practices, you can open yourself up to potentially finding a whole new dimension for your faith. When our spirituality is working well for us, it can give us a sense of purpose and fulfillment in life. When something isn't going the way we want it to, or remember it going, it can lead to feelings of guilt, shame, or abandonment. When this happens, it's important to do what we can, but also to release our expectations for exactly how things ought to go. Remember that spirituality is a journey full of ups and downs, and you can walk that path with more hope than fear. From all of us at Prisma, thank you for taking some time with me today. I'd like to offer a quick prayer for us. To the one who sees us and knows us and loves us most of all, help us to be grateful for life itself. Help us to seek to understand what we can control and what we cannot. Help us to do what is right for ourselves and the people we love, and help us to seek out good things in this world for each other and for everyone. Amen.